Tyshawn Mahaffey.
Sir?
Tyshawn Mahaffey.
If you please spell your last name for the court reporter, please.
Mahafey.
How long have you been, are you from Athens?
Yes, sir.
How long you been living in Athens?
25 years.
Okay. Mr. Mahaffey, did you know Mr. Jadon Brooks?
Yeah, I know him.
Have you, do you know of Mr. Omari Wray?
I know of him. I don't know him.
Okay. Do you know me, Jamie Hood? Do you know Jamie Hood?
I know you a little bit.
Could you please tell the jury a little bit you know about me, please, sir?
And that's all for a narrative for him to simply ask what you know about it. Probably call for hearsay as well.
Okay. I just withdraw it, please. Ms. Mahaffey, do you recall being investigated pertaining to Mr. Omari Wray murder?
Yes, sir.
Could you please tell the jury how you was investigated, how you come to be investigated?
The night Omari got shot, they were saying I did it.
They were saying you did.
Yes, sir.
Did in fact, were you interviewed by Detective Nora and Mr. Jim Fuller concerning that matter, sir?
Yes, sir.
Could you please tell the jury about that?
Yeah, they came to my house and came to my house about 50 police officers, picked me up, brought me downtown, and asked me, do I know Omari? I told them I ain't know nothing about him. I just heard of him. You feel me? They're like, people saying I shot him. You know what I'm saying? And they asked me, they like, Jadon said, you and Omari got into it a couple times. I don't know Omari. You feel me? And they asked me where I was that night. I told them I was shooting basketball. They took about 2 days to look up my alibi and came back and told me I was clear.
Okay. Do you know of Jadon Brooks? Do you know about Mr. Brooks prior to this? Did you know Mr. Brooks in any type of way, sir?
No, I ain't know. I just heard of him.
Okay. Do you recall Mr. Brooks making any death threats towards you pertaining to Mr. Omari Wray?
It was a text message going around talking about they had some money on my head.
Okay. Do you recall telling the agent that Mr. Brooks called you on the phone and talking about killing you?
I called him.
Okay. Could you tell us about that?
And I tell him that I called Jadon. I had got a number from somebody in the street.
Okay.
I tried to tell him I ain't killed his homeboy. You know, like you got the wrong person.
Okay.
And he hung up on me. And I called him back. He was like, don't worry about what you saying. You gonna get it.
When he said he was gonna get it, do you recall telling the agent that Jadon Brooks was making death threats towards you?
Yeah, I told the police that.
What did the police do after you told them that Mr. Jadon Brooks was making threats on your life?
They asked me what I was gonna do about it. I said, we're gonna get to that bridge when it comes.
Okay. Have you done anything personal to Jadon Brooks to make him threaten your life, sir?
No, sir.
Your interview was recorded. Do you recall the interview being recorded in any way, sir?
What interview?
When Detective Norris and Mr. Jim Fuller came to your house and interviewed you, was you in the car? Do you recall the interview? Y'all was in the car?
I didn't know it was being recorded.
Okay, you didn't know?
No, sir.
They didn't tell you that they were recording for you?
No, sir.
Okay. But you do recall doing the interview in your car, in their car, your mom's house.
Yes.
You reported the threat that Mr.
Your Honor, that's a leading question. This is his witness.
Do you recall specifically telling the agent during that interview that Mr. Jadon Brooks had threatened your life over the phone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall telling them that it was him, Kenyatta County, and his boys, something about their little gang or something? Do you recall that?
I didn't tell him it was Ken Cameron. I just said Jadon.
Okay.
I never spoke to Ken. I never spoke to Ken.
Okay. Well, do you know anything about the sleep boys?
Your Honor, that is irrelevant for this witness.
I'll allow the question, not in there.
Could you tell us what you know about the slip boy is?
You're a slick boy. If you from Harlem, you're a slick boy.
Do you recall Jadon Brooks and Kenyatta Campbell being called?
Yeah, they from Harlem. before that, they told me, Jadon told them that I had robbed Omar a couple times. You feel me? I told him I never been face to face with Omar. I just knew he sold dope. And I seen it, I broke in the house and told him they dope.
Okay. So do you recall telling the agent Jadon running his mouth at you before that?
No, I don't call that.
Do you have any fears right now about telling the jury and the judge about Jadon Brooks making threats on your life? Do you have any type of fears about that, sir?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mahaffey.
You welcome.
Officer Elmer.
Mr. Mahaffey, what you indicated that Jadon Brooks may have said to you, was that after Omari's death?
It was after Omar did it.
And he believed that you had something to do with it, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you've indicated you didn't have anything to do with it.
Yes, sir.
But at the time, that was apparently his belief, correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, you didn't have anything to do with Omari Wray's death, did you?
No, sir.
And you didn't have anything to do with anything about robbing Omari or doing anything to Omari prior to all that stuff? did
I
you?
never robbed Omar.
That's right. And you didn't have anything to do with any of that, did you?
No, sir.
In fact, what the police officers apparently were following up on information that Mr. Brooks had given them. Was that your understanding?
That's what I understood, yeah.
And they appeared to take that pretty seriously, did they not?
Yes, sir.
And they brought you in, or at least sat down and talked to you, I guess, in the car there, right?
We went to the, first we talked to him in the car, then the second time, I went downtown.
You did go downtown?
Yes, sir.
So you were interviewed a couple times about it, right?
Twice.
Right. So they appear to be following up on whatever leads they had trying to solve that case.
Yes,
Did
sir.
that appear to you? Right?
Yes, sir.
And you told them on the night of Omari's death, you were playing basketball at Thomas Lake Park, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, you indicated, well, let me ask you, did you indicate to them that you really went there every Tuesday and Thursday?
Yes, sir.
You know, and that you wanted to tell them, hey, I go there every day and stay there till the end, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Every Tuesday and Thursday?
Yes, sir.
You know, and that you wanted to tell them, hey, I go there every day and stay there till the end, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Because that's what you did, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
And that's what you remembered right after they spoke, right after Omari's death, they were talking to you to follow up on that lead, and you told them, hey, I was over at Thomas Lake Park the way I always do. I go over there and play basketball and stay there till the end, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And they went and checked that out, didn't they?
Yes, sir.
And they came back to you and told you, hey, what you had to say, your alibi checks out, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did they tell you they spoke to two employees over there?
Yes, they had
Thomas
called me.
Lake Park?
They called me on the phone and asked me what they called me.
Who called you on the phone?
The detective.
The detective did.
Yeah.
And he indicated to you that they had spoke to the folks over there, the employees at Thomas Lake Park, that verified everything that you had to say. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Brief. Mr. Mahaffey, have you ever heard of Jamie Hood accusing you of killing Omari Wray?
No, sir.
Did anybody force you to talk to the agents that when they come to talk to you about Jadon Brooks, you told them that he would throw you? Did anybody force you to say that?
No, sir.
Do you also recall telling the agents that Jadon Brooks said they got a price on your head?
Yes, sir.
What do the term price on your head mean? Could you tell the jury what that term means?
Pay somebody to kill me.
Jadon Brooks said they got a price on your head.
Yes, sir.
What do the term price on your head mean? Could you tell the jury what that term means?
Pay somebody to kill me.
How many times did you tell the agent that Jadon was talking about he was going to pay somebody to kill you?
I told him twice.
No further questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother. Go down. All your name, please.
I'd like to call Mr. Jim Fuller.
I do.
Please be seated, sir. Could you please state your first and last name for the court and the jury, please?
Yes, my name is Jim Fullington.
Could you spell your last name for the court, please?
Fullington.
Mr. Fuller, what do you do for a living, sir?
Presently employed as the police chief of Winder Police Department
How long have you had that position, sir?
since March of 2014.
Are you a certified law enforcement for the state of Georgia, sir?
I am.
How long you been certified, sir?
Since December of 1985.
Mr. Fullerton, do you recall doing the investigation on Mr. Omari Wray murder case, sir, back in 2010, December in 2010, sir?
I do.
Do you recall doing an investigation on several people that was accused of killing Mr. Wray?
I do.
Could you give us a synopsis of what the investigation was on the witness that you interviewed, sir?
The part that I played in investigation, I was with Athens Clark County Police Detective David Norris. One of the people that we interviewed was Tyshawn Mahaffey.
How many other people did you interview other than Mr. Mahaffey, sir?
I believe I was talked with a Sheikah Maddox on 2 different occasions. I spoke with a Chris Sanders and a Chris Sanders.
Are those the only ones that you recall, sir?
There were some other people I spoke with. I was with Detective Norris when we talked with a Miss Lett at the Lay Park Recreation Center. And I spoke with one other subject by phone. Give me a second to recall his name. Pierre Davis.
What, just specifically to Omari Wray as far as investigation? Do you know what Mr. Davis told you about that?
Mr. Davis was speaking on behalf of corroborating that he was with Chris Sanders for the time period that we were asking about.
Sir, are those all the people that you can remember that you talked to pertaining to Mr. Wray's murder investigation on your behalf?
On Mr. Wray, that's all I recall at this time.
Okay. Did you talk to anybody that stated that Jamie Hood, defendant Jamie Hood, did you hear my name come up any time with the people you talked to, sir?
Later on in March, I did. That's
Prior to March, before March 22nd, 2011, out of all the people you interviewed, did they mention Jamie Hood at all?
I did not talk to anybody that mentioned Jamie's Hood prior to March.
Prior to March 22nd, 2011, did you find any physical evidence, DNA, fingerprints, hair, shoe prints, palm prints, blood, anything that will physically connect me to the Omari Wray case?
Not prior to March 22nd, we did not. I did not.
Did you talk to anybody from law enforcement or out the street that indicated Jamie Hood prior to March 22nd, 2011?
I do not recall hearing Jamie Hood's name as in relation, directly related to Omari Wray prior to March 22nd.
Okay. Did anybody, did anybody ever tell you that I went to Omari Wray funeral and I was the pallbearer in his funeral? Anybody ever tell you that at any time?
I do not recall hearing that information. Yes, I was not there, so, but I assume he did, yes.
Okay, as far as like, have you reviewed the Mr. Kennedy Omari Wray obituary?
I have not.
Okay. Have you reviewed the pallbearers inside of Mr. Omari Wray obituary?
I have not.
Could I, Your Honor, could I ask him to view it?
I don't know what the point is. I think he indicated he hadn't seen that, and he already answered those questions prior to March 22nd.
The point is, Judge, he put his witness up there, put in writing, he told the jury that I was a pallbearer at Mr. Omari Wray funeral, so I had my investigator go get the obituary,
No,
and he got
that's
the
not
pallbearers.
responsive to the, that's not responsive to
I'm
the.
going to sustain the objection. This witness apparently cannot identify that document. You can ask him other questions to lay a foundation for that, but I would typically yes, I'm not familiar with it.
So, how, if this witness, so I can't ask him no questions on this? I mean, if I can't, I move on, but my thing was to show the jury, hey, I wasn't a pallbearer like Mr. Quigley just said.
I understand. I don't see how you, from what I've heard, he knows nothing about that.
Okay, I just used the witness that come in a little later. Mr. Fuller, sir. Do you recall filing the gun that killed Mr. Omari Wray during your investigation? Did y'all ever find the gun that killed Mr. Wray?
To my knowledge, we have not.
Okay. Now, you indicated earlier that you talked to Tayshaun Mahaffey. Could you tell us, you said you were Detective Norris, talked to him. Could you tell us about that, please, sir?
Yes, we spoke with him. We went to his residence where he lived and asked him about his knowledge and involvement with the death of Mr. Omari Wray, and asked him about his location or his whereabouts the previous date. We were talking to him on December 29th. We were asking him about his whereabouts on the evening of December 28th.
Do you recall that you and Detective Norris recorded that interview with Mr. Tayshaun Mahaffey?
Yes, the interview was being recorded by Detective Norris, but I was aware of it.
What was the purpose of recording the interview?
A lot of law enforcement officers, we typically tend to, on some witnesses, some interviews, to record them to document exactly what's being said, and use it to either do your report later or use it in the case of witness backtracks on what they say or says something different.
Okay. Do you recall specifically what Mr. Tayshaun, do you recall Mr. Tayshaun had been talking about Jadon Brooks in any way?
I don't recall specifically what he said about Jadon Brooks off the top of my head, if he mentioned him.
Mr. Fiona, is there any way I can refresh his memory about that recorded conversation? It may be able to refresh his memory since he can't recall what was said. I have the CDs here, I can play them. I don't think they're too long.
You're seeking to refresh his memory?
Yes, sir.
Speak to Mr.
Mr. Happy said something about Mr. Brooks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't recall the entire conversation, all the details of it. I do recall some of the details of it. It is possible that he mentioned Mr. Brooks in the course of the conversation. We were specifically asking him about Mr. Omari Wray and about his location on the previous evening.
Do you recall Mr. Mahaffey stating that Don Brooke had a phone conversation and was threatening to kill him?
I recall that he had said he received some threats throughout prior to the day of us talking to him, and I think late the night after Mr. Wray was killed. I don't recall specifically it coming from Mr. Brooks.
You recorded that interview, correct?
Detective Norris recorded the interview, and I have listened to the recording.
Okay. When last time you listened to the recording?
I believe it was Monday of this week.
How could you forget the threat to Mr. Brooke that Mr. Mahaffey made against, Don Brooke made against Mr. Mahaffey?
Say that one more time.
How could you forget the threat that Mr. Brooks made to Mr. Mahaffey?
I have reviewed lots of information and listened to different recordings. I don't recall specifically. I do recall and listen to the recording that he said he had been threatened. I don't recall specifically him saying it was Mr. Brooks.
Well, Your Honor, could I ask this to speed things up? Is it possible we could ask the juror to, and I just play him this portion, they don't have to hear it, I can ask the question again.
I think he can conduct his investigation without having to do that. If Your Honor feels he can do that, then that's fine. I'm not certain that every witness there, whether they recall details of every single thing that we need to stop and play on. That's whatever Your Honor chooses.
I'll ask the jury to go.
It's not long.
No, I don't know what the purpose of the questions are. Mr. Mahaffey testified, he testified of what he remembered, he told the officers at that time, the purpose of having, Chief Fullington basically go back over, you call this or not, I don't think we need to establish that. I mean, there's nothing inconsistent from what, he's not trying to establish something inconsistent from what Mr. Mahaffey said. So I don't know what the purpose of the questions are to that extent, so.
I'll allow him to play it.
Okay.
Yeah, just hear them out, and all of us out for the near future. The purpose is to, okay, go ahead. Yeah, I'm gonna speed it up. Well, I ain't gonna play the whole time, I'll just speed it up.
Go to the bar.
Yeah, that's what I do, let's speed it up.
I would be, I'd be able to talk to him right now. So, about this week. Yeah, I was fucking doing that. I was nearly, I was talking to her, come on, bro. Like, you know, supposed to be, I like, man, I ain't kidding, you know. I come here, man, I'm fucking for a long time. Talking about this week. Yeah, I was fucking doing that. I was nearly, I was talking to her, come on, bro. Like, you know, supposed to be, I like, man, I ain't kidding, you know, but, I didn't, you know, we got quite some years, like, without any of this shit too. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn what you're talking, and yeah, but I ain't kidding, you know, but y'all ain't of this shit too. That's all I was telling you, I was like. You see something, you know, brother? I come here, man, I'm fucking for a long time. Talking about this week. Yeah, I was fucking doing that. I was nearly, I was talking to her, come on, bro. Like, you know, supposed to be, I like, man, I ain't kidding, you know, but, I didn't, you know, we got quite some years, like, without any of this shit too. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn what you're talking, and yeah, but I ain't kidding, you know, but y'all ain't of this shit too. That's all I was telling you, I was like. You see something, you know, how look at it? I just want to verify what time you called. Which number is, you know, posting for it, you know? 2:45, maybe? Yeah, they're around that time I got over. 2:45, what time is that? It's 6 a.m. phone. Oh, you got it 29? Yep. The 30 or 29? That's you got my last name. It's all like a diabetes. Yeah, big, you know, big difference. How you gonna protect yourself from the time? I ain't coming. You told me, said you told me not to come. Yeah, I ain't been put. Man, they were like, oh, they been saying shit for a while, man. So then, I need to wax for it, and yeah, that's what the only thing started. I guess all the legal news, sing on the man, yeah, I know the world, but that ain't right here.
You know, there's something wrong with my computer, but is that enough? Is that enough for you to, you're done, you heard you're done, the price is on the head, is that enough to refresh your memory that you're done with President?
Can you read, I heard that was the interview, but I couldn't understand what he was saying in some portions of it.
Do you want me to play it over with? I mean, did you hear the Don Brooks name?
I did not that time, but can you just play that portion, if you heard it, just play that portion again.
You can go to that particular portion, but I understood nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't do nothing with you what I got, Judge.
Talking about this week. Yeah, I was fucking doing that. I was nearly, I was talking to her, come on, bro. Like, you know, supposed to be, I like, man, I ain't kidding, you know, but, I didn't, you know, we got quite some years, like, without any of this shit too. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn what you're talking, and yeah, but I ain't kidding, you know, but y'all ain't of this shit too. That's all I was telling you, I was like. You see something, you know, how look at it? I just want to verify what time you called. Which number is, you know, posting for it, you know? 2:45, maybe? Yeah, they're around that time I got over. 2:45, what time is that? It's 6 a.m. phone.
Play the whole thing again.
I'm trying, the Don ain't gonna come up, have you got enough?
The
I don't
30
think
or
I'm good.
29, that's you got my last name. It's all like a diabetes.
Are you understanding any of that?
I am understanding portions of it, yes, sir.
Yeah, big, you know, big difference. How you gonna protect yourself from the time? I ain't coming. You told me, said you told me not to come. Yeah, I ain't been put. Man, they were like, oh, they been saying shit for a while, man. So then, I need to wax for it, and that's what the only thing started. I guess all the legal news, sing on the man, yeah, the world, but that ain't right here.
Well, if I can explain, he's talking about also stealing some weed, and he's talking about Judon's, it being Judon's weed, and I do understand some of that portion, but that was prior to the murder of Omari Wray.
Yeah, but he was saying that's, what I want to ask him, did you hear the part about the prices on the head? And he stated it was Jadon who had called, I'm trying to shorten it up for you, sir. I
Yeah.
couldn't play that first video when he was still talking about Jadon.
Stand up, and I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. What I was trying to do was just get it fast, I'm trying to get you to understand, hey, Jadon he did say, Jadon Brooks threatened him and got prices on your head. And Jadon Brooks was doing it. That's why I asked you the question, do you recall Jadon Brooks threatened Mr. Happy? And he clearly stated that he wanted to do it again, I believe. And I can also get the first disc when he said it again, but I'm just trying to shorten it up for you.
I want to make sure. I hear him talking about Judon, and I hear him talking about being scared, but I also hear him talking about stealing his weed, his marijuana or his weed, and I don't know if that's what he's referring to at the time.
Well, I tried to shorten it.
How long is this?
It ain't long, I'm gonna skip up through that.
And I recall him specifically talking about being threatened. I don't recall him saying Judon threatened.
Yeah, but I don't know why the manager would get involved if somebody in the restaurant side, does he know the manager?
Is this the second interview?
Now, Judge, what it is, two parts to it, Judge. It's this forward. And again, he did say it, I was just trying to shorten it up for him. He was talking about Sean making threats.
You can find it.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Campbell and Premier. I want to be clear, so I know what we can focus on. So basically, you think it's sat down and just let you know? Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, I was saying, he really looks like, it looks like Jadon, Omari, and kind of Ken Campbell, and Premier, Maryland. It looks like a big accident. I called him, and we did this like, all the way, they do the shit, and all that, they got drugs. But you don't know him, Mark. I don't know, I know who he is, I don't know him personally, like, you know, I never had no problem with him. What have you heard, as far as other than, them saying that you're the one that's done it? That's all I heard. Have you heard anybody else? That's all I heard, I was in a the story I heard, I was in a red car. Pulled up first, the story first I heard, I pulled up on the black road and shit. But then the story changed over, so I pulled up and got him and shit. So I don't know what's going on, I don't heard like Friday's story. But I told him, I ain't got nothing to do with it, I ain't worried about it. But they just threatened me and stuff, I told him, like, man, I ain't. Who's been threatening you? It looks like the people that's all with the law and stuff.
I understood that at that time.
All right. Should they come back in?
Again, Mr. Fuller, do you recall Tayshaun Mahaffey stating that Jadon Brooks made some threats towards his life?
Yes, in our interview with Mr. Mahaffey, he stated that he had received some threats after the death of Mr. Omari Wray.
Who he specifically say he received them threats from?
He used the term Judon in his little circle. He said Judon.
Who do you know Jadon as?
The only Judon that I know is Judon Brooks.
Did you force Mr. Mahaffey to say those things, sir?
No, I did not.
What, after you learned that Mr. Mahaffey stated that Jadon Brooks or some other people threatened him, what did you feel about that?
Can you repeat the question?
How did, after Mr. Tayshawn Mahaffey said Jadon Brooks was threatening him, it's like, how do you feel about that as a agent or law enforcement guy?
I don't think that's the proper question. It's not proper to ask what you're feeling about that. Who wants to ask a specific question? I was wrong.
Did you investigate Mr. Brooks after you learned that Mr. Mahaffey said he was gonna kill him and some more folks threatened his life?
No, we did not investigate him threatening to kill Mr. Mahaffey.
Why not?
At the time, we were working on the murder of Mr. Wray. We continued to follow up the leads and try to determine who was responsible. And we had information about the dynamics of who Mr. Wray was connected to, and tried to follow out some of that information.
Okay, do you recall during that interview that Mr. Happy said Jadon Brooks was putting prices on his head? Do you recall that?
I don't recall him saying he put prices on his head. I do recall him saying that he had received some threats after the death of Mr. Wray. He talked about there being talk in the street that he was responsible and that he got some threats, and he did specifically state that Judon and his circle was some of the threats.
Okay, is it possible that he said that you might have just forgot, sir, about the prices on his head?
It is possible that he mentioned specifically having prices on his head, referring to, for us, my interpretation would that mean that he had received threats. But he did tell us that he received threats after the death of Mr. Wray.
From who?
From Judon and his circle.